Hello, welcome to Movement Not Miracles. I am Anna from Eat, Move, Be Happy, and what do I usually say? Movement Not Miracles is your bite-sized session of how to keep things moving, keep your joints moving, stretch through some of those muscles, and hopefully ward off some of those aches and pains that we can get from just joints stiffening up. So if we can work through our muscles and encourage movement through the joints, hopefully that's not going to happen, and we generally feel better, our posture improves, which overall has a big impact on how we generally feel, our sense of well-being. So doing something is better than not doing anything at all. It doesn't matter how small a dose of movement you do, keeping moving is the key. So trying to avoid sitting still in a slumped position for a long period of time. So today's session is going to be sort of head to toe, a bit of everything, just to get things moving. So starting with our neck, and you can do these seated or standing. Whatever you are doing, what I want you to think about is sitting or standing nice and tall. So we're not going to be slumped, we're not going to be round shouldered, we're thinking of shoulders back and down. My weight is evenly distributed between my left and my right side. I can feel my feet on the floor. I know that might sound really obvious, but sometimes we stand on one side, we get into the habit of putting our weight through one side of our body, which means that we become imbalanced. One side is working differently than the other. From a muscular point of view and a joint movement point of view, that's not always helpful. So having your weight evenly spread through your left and your right side. If you are seated, think about sitting up on the bones of your bottom. So we're not sitting on the fleshy part of our bum, we're sitting on the bones of your bottom and sitting up nice and tall. So to start off with, on shoulders back and down. So we don't want to be hunched, tense through the tops of the muscles, through the muscles in the top of our shoulders, and we also don't want to be round shouldered. So we don't want to be like this. We're standing up and our shoulders are back and down. And then to start off with, I want you to relax everywhere else, and I just want you to drop your chin to your chest. And just do a couple of breaths with your chin here, and then lift your head back up, and then we're going to look over one shoulder. Don't let your shoulders creep up, and a couple of breaths on that shoulder, and then we're going to turn to the other side. I'm guessing that most of us, we're going to do that again. And I'm going to talk at you whilst we're doing this. Most of us don't tend to pay attention to the movement of our neck throughout the day. You will be moving your head, looking in different places, probably a lot of the time. But actually, do we deliberately think of relaxing our neck and moving just to release some of the tension that can build up through our neck and our shoulders? So shoulders now. I bet the answer to that question is not so much. I know I certainly don't unless I think about it. So it's, again, a good habit to get into. So shoulders, we're going to start off with just a nice deliberate shoulder roll, shoulders up and then back and down, really squeezing your shoulder blades together on your back chest. And breathing whilst you do it. Getting a nice big stretch across the front. So across your chest as your shoulder blades squeeze together, but also into the front of your shoulders if you really take those shoulder blades back. And then we can increase, oh, I can feel my chest. We can increase that movement by introducing the arms. So thumbs back, palms up as you come back down. Don't let your back arch, so we're not letting this happen, just to protect your lower back. And we want the movement coming from the upper back rather than the middle and the lower back. So think of contracting through your tummy muscles and working through your butt to keep everything stable from here, and moving through the shoulder blades and that upper back more. I'm going to just, for me, if you have a belt or a dressing gown belt will do, this is a yoga belt, or a broom handle, just to do some shoulder, something that's firm, to do some shoulder dislocates. So I've been doing something else this morning. I need to lengthen my belt. My shoulders are not that flexible. So the further apart your hands are, the easier this is. So again, set yourself up, shoulders back and down, and then we go all the way over and all the way back. Exactly the same, so we're not letting our bottom stick out. Limited movement through that lower back. And when you get, for me, I get to that point and I can really squeeze my shoulder blades together, relaxing through my neck. And I feel a nice stretch across the front of my chest, but also some nice movement through my shoulders. So it's a bit of a stretch as well as working on the mobility. Now there shouldn't be any pain in the joint, so don't force this move. You're working through the muscles in your upper back and your shoulders to allow the movement. If there's pain in your joint, don't force it through. Go back to shoulder rolls. So you do what you can do without pain in any of your joints. If your muscles, I can really feel the muscles in my chest, my pec muscles working there. They're a little bit sore because they've done some work this week. That's okay. Muscles working is what we want. And I don't know whether you'd call it pain or whether you can just call it a sensation. But pain, I keep whacking my wall. Pain in the joint is not what we want. Okay, upper back feels a little bit more mobile now. We talked about this, I think we talked about this last week, but maybe even yesterday. Just going to do a chest stretch and hold that, because it's really easy for our chest muscles to shorten when we become round shouldered. And if these are tight, there's no way you're going to get movement through your upper back. So just relaxing, clasping your hands together and relaxing them on the base of your spine, squeezing your shoulder blades together and feeling a nice big stretch across the front of your chest and into your shoulders. Okay, so now we're going to do a twist. You can do this sitting in a chair, and then you can use the back of the chair to help twist round. You can do it standing, or you can do it sitting on the floor. Any combination of twist, just aiming to get as much movement through your spine as you can. So we're going for mobility rather than stretch. So we're just going to move from side to side, thinking of bringing your shoulders forward, and I'm trying to get my chest around as much as I can. Not gripping through my hips at the moment, so my hips are moving as well. Just trying to get as much movement through that spine as you can. So our spine should move forwards and backwards, sideways and rotationally. And typically we sit in one position, probably slumped, so it's probably curved like this, which if we don't do anything to counteract that is not good for our posture. So we're going to go for some more twists, and this time we're going to keep the lower part of our body fastened in. So think of gripping through the muscles in your bum and through your core. So if you poke those muscles, they should be contracting. So they're acting to stabilise our lower part. And I think of pushing my hip back one way and twisting the other. I call it wringing a towel. So if you're wringing a towel out when you squeeze both ends. So we're just trying to go for a little bit more movement. This time it'll be more through the upper back, which feels quite nice. A couple more each side. Don't forget to keep breathing. Okay, where are we on next? Side bends, bendy Annas, my favourites. So as I said, your spine should move, and I know that I do these are my favourites and I do them quite a lot. I actually do them myself as well, away from Movement Not Miracles, because they do really help keep my back moving. And my back can be a little bit temperamental, and I've learned over the years to look after it and keep it moving, because it is much better for being worked. I feel stiffer, and actually it is more likely to give me problems, painful problems, if I don't work it. So reaching down the side, staying in that sideways plane, and we're going for, again, mobility. So we're not really holding, we're holding a little bit at the bottom of that stretch, or at the bottom of the move, I should say, but we're going for movement rather than holding the stretch. And then if we introduce a big stretch up and over that side, you might get a little bit further down in that sideways bend. If you can introduce that upper arm, then do. And again, you can do these seated. If you can stand, it's a good idea to get up out of a chair and stand, particularly if you find yourself sitting for long periods. But as well, you can do these if you are seated. Once more on this side. Oh, definitely got a little bit further that time, so that feels better. Hips. So we're just going to do a little bit of work waking our hips up. So again, we tend to sit and our legs are in this position. So we might have a right angle at our hips, bums on the chair, and our legs are down towards the floor, which is fine, but our hips are designed to move in a much wider range of movement. So just encouraging our hips to wake up is good, and hugging your knee in towards your chest, as close to your chest as you can, standing upright, and you may as well twizzle your ankles and get some ankle mobility whilst you're there. So we're looking, I'll show you from the side with this one. It's not here, we're not really much past the position of sitting. So we're aiming to pull at that knee as close to the chest as we can, and it's knee up to chest rather than chest down to knee. You might want to get hold or have something to support you if your balance is being tested. But we're just hugging that knee into the chest. So you might feel a bit of a stretch down the back of the leg as well, which is absolutely fine. So again, if you need to use support, this one, we're encouraging the knee to come up, out to the side, and then back down. So we're aiming for a nice big circle with that hip all the way, a bit like we did with the shoulders. See if you can move it all the way round, and then the other side. Because again, it's really easy for us to forget about these hips. And we don't ever move them through their full range of movement. So is it any wonder that things get stiffer? And we're going to finish off with hip mobility in a slightly different plane. This one is a bit of a stretch, and there's less movement, but it is good for our hip mobility. And we're going to add a bit of ankles in as well. So kneeling down, we'll do ankles first. So the setup is similar with both. The closer your heel is to your knee, the more this is going to work through your ankle mobility. So kneeling on one leg and your heel in line with your knee, that knee back and this bum in. So I'm showing you from the side. We don't want this to be happening, so I can't see in the camera, but you can see my bum sticking out there. So we want our bum pushing forward, so we're working through this hip. So this glute is really working and this hip is as forward as I can get it. My heel is in line with my knee, and now I'm going to use this muscle in my bum to push myself forwards, pushing my knee over my toes. So I'll show you from the front, but I'm keeping everything in one line. So my bottom is not sticking out, but my hips are forward. So that's quite hard work in that glute to start off with. Now what happens with me, because my ankle flexibility is not brilliant, this goes to happen. I can really lean forwards, but I'm not getting any movement through my ankles. So keep your heel on the floor and go as much as you can, keeping that knee back. So I'm really trying to work to keep, believe it or not, to keep my heel on the floor and push myself that way. I'm going to use the radiator to help a little bit. My ankle flexibility is not brilliant at all. Okay, we're going to try that on the other side. So now working through my left glute, pushing my hips forward, right glute to keep my knee back. Oh, this side's even worse, if that is at all possible. You see, I get a tiny bit of movement. Should be more ankle flexibility than that. It would definitely help. Keeping your heel on the floor, that is quite hard work for me. Okay, so this time, heel a little bit further away, so this is going to take it into the hips. So exactly the same setup, working through your glutes, bum forward, nice stretch through your hip flexor, leaning, pushing. So think of it as an active move rather than just leaning your body. So your body stays upright, push, work through your glutes. So I've got a nice stretch down the inside of this leg, knee is back, so I can feel it in this hip, but also I can feel it down this leg as well. And when you get to the point where you can't go anymore, think of pushing this hip down towards the floor. So my right hip, my left leg is bending and my right hip is pushing towards the floor. So it isn't a lot of movement and there's a lot of stretch involved in this one, but it is working the hips as well through their range of mobility. Other side, hip forward, knee back. Oh, should I move over a little bit so you can see my toes? And then using the muscles in my bum on the left side this time to push forwards. I'm at the extension of that stretch, so now I'm pushing my left hip down towards the floor. So it is a subtle move, but it is actually quite a nice stretch. So hopefully your shoulders, your neck, your upper back, your mid-back and your hips feel a little bit more worked. Maybe they feel like they've got a bit more space, because when we move through our joints, we do create some space, which is what we're aiming for, and then maintaining that posture, that good posture in that space through strengthening our muscles. So it's a combination of working through the muscles as well as working through the joints. Keep moving, doing something is better than nothing, and moving throughout the day, little and often, is a really, really good recipe for looking after your body in general and feeling better. Don't forget to check out the website www.eatmovebehappy.com. Lots more ideas of how to look after your health and well-being, with some online coaching programs that we run and some exercise suggestions. any questions, please drop us a line, get in touch via the website or through the peer support group on Facebook. So thank you very much, and I shall see you tomorrow.